What's up, guys? I'm Dalton.
I'm Brandon.
This is the Comfort Zone Podcast. Today we had JT Grubb on. He's one of the owners of Select Home Remodeling. He's also a contractor that we use on some of our flip properties. We're talking about quite a bit with him that I think you guys will be interested in.
Yeah, we dove into a little bit of his history, his beginning, how he started, how he failed, but kept grinding and started again, and now he's with us. He's our general contractor along with Kyle, who wasn't able to attend the podcast, but we're going to get him on there.
We also hear a little bit about their experiences, one with failing the first go around and coming back, the second go around and having a lot more success, but also his experiences dealing with flippers. A lot of contractors don't enjoy doing that. So we talk about kind of how we convinced them, how we met them, and how we convinced them to work with us as investors, because it is a different game when you're a contractor that is working with flippers versus your standard home remodeling with just a client that lives in their home and is trying to get a portion of their house remodeled. So come listen to JT's journey with us. If you have any questions at the end of the podcast, please email us or comment below, and
Stay comfortable, getting uncomfortable.
let's do it. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Comfort Zone Podcast. We've got a special guest today. His name's JT. He's with SHR, which stands for Select Home Remodeling. He's our contractor we use on our flip houses, so we'll kind of dive into a little bit of that today. But once again, I'm Dalton.
Brandon.
JT.
But we'll get to it.
Yes, sir. So, yeah, I just haven't known JT very long. Like I said, he's working on this house with us. This is our first one. Great guy. Glad to meet him. So I'm kind of curious because we've talked a little bit about it, but tell them how you started SHR and where that came from.
Yeah, so SHR started back in August. This past August, was working for another company. Done business before on my own. Things didn't kind of work out. COVID, no one wanted to come to work. So I went back to work for somebody. Got to make employment somewhere. So I was working there, started running the same stuff, running the show pretty much for that company and doing things for them. So I was getting kind of burnt out on it, and I was like, well, I want more of it. I want more of what's going on. And Kyle, he approached me. He's like, man, I'm really burnt out on this. I've been here 5 years. I'm not making any progress on anything. So he's like, man, if you're up to try it again, what we'd have to do in order to go into business with each other. So we talked it out for a couple hours, I guess you would say, before we made the final decision. He's like, well, I'm quitting Friday. How do you feel about that? And I was like, well, Kyle's always been really good with money, savings, and stuff like that. I'm the more of the spender. I don't, I live now. I'm not really saving for a whole lot of stuff. So I was like, man, I got to have some security in all this. It's just, that is what it is. I got bills I have to pay. So I was like, let's go look at a couple jobs that I have as side work right now. And he had a paint job. And I was like, if they all say yes, we'll leave. We'll leave our jobs and we'll go do this. They all said yes. I wasn't really counting on all that to happen and transpire like it did.
I love it.
But it did, and man, we just been running and gunning ever since.
That's awesome. And yeah, big shout out to Kyle. We couldn't get him here today. It's hard to get them both away because somebody's got to make some money.
Yeah, someone's got to keep the
boat rolling. He's the other partner in the whole thing, but luckily
we'll
got
get him on
today. Yeah, we'll get him up here.
Yeah, if you haven't seen the video of Kyle busting through some drywall, that's on our Facebook and TikTok. He does the old Kool-Aid man. Oh yeah, that's Kyle.
That's a good one.
We got some pictures of Kyle, I might add, at the end.
You need to put the video of him busting through the wall inserted in here. So
yeah,
that'd
definitely.
be really cool.
Yeah, so I'll add that real quick, or I won't. Cole, add that clip now.
Yeah. All right.
Oh yeah. All right. So that's Kyle.
Yeah. Hey, that's the perfect story for the Comfort Zone. That's why we're here, because that's what we want people to see, is that it's possible. Take the right steps and sometimes get with the right people, and you can make that move and get out on your own and get out of your comfort zone and do your own thing.
You looked up here like this said comfort zone.
Oh yeah, I know. I was thinking,
Don't
Yeah,
quit.
yeah.
don't quit.
Do it.
Do it.
So we do have a new table coming in that's going to have our logo on it. We're going to try to decorate a little bit. We got 3 different mics right now, so if the audio's still kind of poor, we're working on it. We ordered all new stuff. So like we said last time, bear with us as we're figuring out the video and audio side of this. We do have an editor that is going to help us out on the back end of it. I pretty much told Cole, I didn't tell you this. I told Cole, I was like, hey, so you don't work for ETX Lawn Repair anymore? Because he only works with us part-time now. He used to be a full-time employee, but he works on Fridays after 1 till closing. So I was like, hey, your new job is this. I also told him, I was like, when you go off to college and leave, like, everything's
Still
going to
have
be
a
in
job.
cloud. Like, we'll continue paying you your day rate salary.
You're on residual.
Yeah, you're working for us forever. I don't care. He's going to be an eye surgeon. You're still going to work for us.
Yeah.
You find time. He's a hard employee to let go. He's a lot better than my brother that works for him. It's like,
It's messed up. Yeah,
When
shout
you
out
see
to
this.
Denny.
yeah,
That guy.
he don't watch it. He's over here halfway listening because he's on the other side of the wall. And then like I try to get him to watch it. I was like, have you watched it yet? He's like, I've already listened to y'all guys film it. I'm not listening to it.
Oh, but it's a whole different ballgame when
Yeah.
it's been edited out. And stuff
Yeah,
like that.
that's what I said. I was like, I need that view mark. I
Yeah,
need
just
that
go.
view mark.
Just click it.
Help
They're
us
playing in the
out.
background. I need the view on it.
Well,
you know?
the little outtake of you rapping is it's got like 1,600 views right now.
I guess I should
So,
rap some more.
It's got more. It's got more views than any others, but I've found that like the small clippets are
Yep.
doing a lot better. But I mean, if you see one of our small clippets, check out the full podcast. I mean, I think we're learning, so some of it's a little slower, but it's getting there. But back into like I guess how me and you met. You were with a nonprofit company that you were doing a job for.
Right. I was with a guy that has a nonprofit out of Pittsburgh, and we were doing a small project for him, adding a wall in another room to turn into an office space. Just kind of doing my thing, man. Just being out there, getting material with him, joking around with people, engaging with conversations with anybody around. You approached me. He was like, "Hey, man, you got a business card?" So yeah, of course. Walked outside. You seen my T-shirt I was wearing. Sat there, talked, had a good conversation. Wasn't even really about business per se. And then I don't
We
know.
talked a little bit about church and stuff.
We talked about a little church, just some day-to-day stuff, and then just a general small conversation. And then later on that day, you actually called Kyle, and Kyle's like, "Hey, some guy Dalton's calling me right now. What's this about? I don't know what to tell him." And I just tell him to call me. I'll handle it. And then I think we went on a field trip, went and looked at a couple houses and stuff like that. Told you what I thought about them, and then here we are, still rolling and making things happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I think that's something that you and Pablo did too, and Pablo will be on later, but y'all had business cards with 2 names on it,
Yep.
right, and 2 numbers. And when you have partners, you really want to do that a lot, and we've got away from
Yeah.
that. If it's a location that has a store, we just put the store number. We don't even put our personal, and then we do separate business cards for that. I mean, you're talking an extra $30, but we had some of those same issues.
It can get confusing for you and the person that you gave the card to.
Yeah.
How you even associate with that person. So.
Yeah, but a story. I don't know if we told you this before, but this is back 8-9 years ago. So I was a little skinnier back then. So I didn't have my name on the business card. I worked for him. I didn't own anything. And him and Pablo were there. I guess I helped out this girl, and she grabbed a business card, and I guess thought I looked like a Brandon. Well, he starts hitting up Brandon. Like, I don't know, what did she say? Like,
Just, hey, thank you for helping me with my phone today. I thought you were cute.
yeah.
And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
no.
So he calls me and says, "How did you tell Courtney right now I didn't even work
don't
today?"
even- yeah, I wasn't even there.
Yeah, I need you to explain right now that this is not me. I wasn't
Help
flirting
me,
with this girl.
help me.
Yeah, but it's funny that we had the same things of like I think I called you when I started working for you guys. Pablo knew my aunt. I was working at a AC company and was kind of looking to do something different, and she's like, well, hey, Pablo had reached out, or I have a friend that reached out, and she gave me the business card. Well,
Yep.
I called you because, honestly, I called you because I couldn't even say Pablo's last name. So I was like, I'm not calling that guy. I'm going to call the Brandon. and you didn't know anything about me calling. So it's kind of similar. I always call the wrong person, apparently.
I think everybody does.
Yeah.
So I mean, I guess the both the names being on there is just a quick thing.
Yeah.
Like those cards came right after that. We got our LLC paperwork in, and I was like, well, we need new business cards. So we had it under my. It wasn't even LLC. It was just, hey, we need to throw a name out there right quick to get people to call us. So I mean, I had it under JT Construction or something like that, and had cards made up. Really nice cards stuff, but they were just not what we were going to be. And then we got our LLC paperwork in, and I was like, well, I'm just going to hit up Staples. I don't have really a design right now that I want to do on this car or anything, so I threw my name on it, threw his name on it. Maybe should have put different titles on there or something like that to kind of differentiate who needs to be called for what. And then, as we grow, if there's a necessity for it, we probably will get a business line.
Yeah.
And really, I don't really see the purpose for it right
The
now.
way it
No,
is,
yeah.
but like just like me and Dalton, you figure out kind of who's the communicator, who's the one that's gonna be available more, and that's Dalton, because I'm not good about answering my phone, and I have 1,000 things going on, and if I don't have your number, probably not gonna answer. Leave a voicemail or text me. If you leave a voicemail, I probably ain't gonna listen to it either.
But the problem is you'll act busy. Not that you're not busy with your kids and doing stuff, but you'll be driving in the car, and I've seen, Poppy or one of your in-laws call, or Courtney call,
I'm
or
busy.
one of your buddies call,
I'm
and you're
driving.
doing nothing but listening to music.
I
And
like that song.
I answer.
That's
There's
important.
a few
I mean-
a few times, like I'll go and answer. Like I'll answer for him because I know he's not going to answer.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you're doing nothing right now, because I know that if he's just cruising down the road and it's me calling and he doesn't want to answer because he's listening to some Morgan Wallen, he won't
I've
answer.
Done it.
You can't interrupt him, man. You gotta let that play out.
Yeah.
And Jam says it's important for your mental health to take those little breaks.
It's a mental health moment.
Yeah, mental health moments. They're
Yeah.
things.
Answer your phone.
I've tried.
Don't do
Some
it.
days it's different. Yeah, it just depends on what kind of mood I'm in.
No.
So
Answering it.
what I like about having Kyle on there is we ran into a situation. Sweet old man. We did some work for him and stuff like that. Well, he's been continuously blowing my phone up every morning, and I'm talking like 7:03 on the dot every morning. They're blowing me up about this door that's not been delivered yet. And I told him to explain the situation over and over. Hey man, I don't have your door yet. It's coming. The moment I know, you'll know. But those conversations keep going on and on. He's an old man, I get it. But I don't have enough time in my morning to have the chat, sit down with him. So pawn that off on Kyle. Kyle, you're not doing that for an hour and a half drive. Talk to Jerry. Go ahead. Take care of him. He does, and I like that, delegating stuff that customer relations after I've already made the initial sit down with them and contract with them. Then I kind of turned over to Kyle, because more or less he's going to be in more direct contact with them than I am. So I let Kyle kind of handle the instructions or what's going on the day to day. Let Kyle handle that out a little bit more than I do. So that's why his number's on the card. Hey, reach out to Kyle if you need this.
Yeah, it should be.
What is? How did you guys come up with SHR? Was that a you idea, a Kyle idea, or?
So I wanted to. I don't really like being a remodel company. The first gears we're aiming towards not even being just a remodel company, but being more of like a solutions company. Like I didn't want to just do remodeling. I didn't want to do house building or handyman stuff. I kind of wanted to be a solutions company for everything. Like call me up if you're looking for a pool guy, or if you're looking for sheetrockers, stuff like that. So we were going to be more aiming towards a solutions company. I was like, well, Select Solutions, of course, that was gone. So we were going through the database of all the registers companies in Texas, and we had a guy we were working with, getting it all set up, and he called me one day. He's like, what do you think about Select Home Remodeling? And at this point, I'm like, man, we need to be LLC. We need this like right now. Like this is going too far in. Like I need a name. And I was like, he called me up. He's like, what do you think about Select Home Remodeling? I'm like, do it. That's fine. That rolls. It's good.
This is the guy that did your logo.
No, I'll talk about him in a minute. The guy who helped us is JD Cole. He used to work at Home Depot's Pro Desk. He had a TV show he was on in Dallas called Dallas Car Sharks. He's kind of, I guess, the older style of social media, networking, and or websites and stuff like that. He has that little experience doing that. And with this being a partnership this time instead of sole proprietorship, I was like, well, I don't want to mess anything up. Like that's not my expertise. I don't know how to do all that stuff over there. So I let him handle it until it got to a point where I didn't feel like he was handling it well. But he did great. He got us set up on the website. He got the LLC paperwork, EIN number, all that stuff to get us rolling. And then he kind of just handed it over to us. But he just happened to go through the name search. I mean, he spent $150 going through different names, just in there. This name's gone, this name's gone, this name's gone. And finally found SHR, and that's what we just stuck and run with.
Yep.
I mean, sounds good and looks good on a t-shirt, so that's what we went with.
Yeah.
I like it.
I mean, I like it. I mean, I think our names are stupid sometimes.
Yeah, once you pick it,
Yeah.
it's hard to change it.
Yeah, like
Because
Pablo wanted ETX everything. Everything was East Texas this, East Texas that. But then like the original LLC is Mount Pleasant Communications. We're not even a communication company.
I don't even know what that
Yeah,
is.
yeah. I mean, at the time it was satellite and like
And
Exceed
cell phone
Internet
repair,
and
yes.
cell phone repair and all that stuff. But like it's
It's
like,
still not communication.
Yeah.
It's internet and
I
TV.
mean, I get the argument, but it's just
I have no idea, man.
Yeah.
I was there. I made the decision, but I don't even know.
yeah.
It was kind of one of the things where it's just like, hey, we got to figure something out here. Let's just do it. You know, no one's even gonna know this because this is just for the bank and for paperwork. But
Yeah, because you knew you were going to DBA it different. But, I mean, like, our investment company is 88 Elite. Well, it sounds good, but, like, behind the story behind it is we're Dallas Cowboy fans.
Yeah.
And we're like, name a Dallas Cowboy that wore 88 that wasn't just an elite player, you know?
I mean, I was sold. Once we said it, I was like, yeah, that's it. I'm
Yeah.
done.
I was curious about that, where the 88 Elite came from. I was like,
Yeah.
Just spitballing. We literally had like 15 minutes till we had to make a name.
Yeah, because we had an offer in on a contract. Like, we had to have it. Like, the bank's like, hey, I need an EIN.
Yeah.
Like, and we didn't want to do it with our current businesses and stuff because we
Right.
weren't really sure how long we were going to take looking. We didn't know how long it was going to take to set up and get started. So we were on a time crunch to get the paperwork in, had to pay the extra money to get it overnighted and get everything
Yeah.
done. So, I mean, which it all worked out. And we didn't even do that house. We ended up,
Yeah.
you ended up leaving for Mexico and bought a different one. But it all worked out. I mean, I think, you know, we use Fiverr for our logos and stuff. It takes some time with them because a lot of times they're out of country. So, like, if you have, like, let's say you get a proof and there's a few things that you want to change on it, you can't give a list of changes. You have to focus on one change at a time because of the language barrier. You know, I guess Fiverr will auto-translate, but, you know, sometimes that doesn't come across well. So, like, you have to focus on one change at a time. So you'll go through 10 revisions to get the branding or the logo and stuff you want. But it's very cheap, and and they do really good work.
Quality.
It's just the time isn't there. It's kind of like we talked about, like, what was that one guy said? It's like you can have it quick, you can have it cheap, or
Fast.
or you can have it good quality. Like, you can pick 2 to
Yeah.
3.
Yeah.
Well, we don't get it fast, but we get good quality and we get it cheap. So that's why we use that. I think what Average Joey did
Yeah,
y'all's
yeah.
logo.
So, Average Joey, I've known him, I met him, of course, through social media first. I've been knowing him for going on 3 years now. And he does his own t-shirts. He had Mullet Gang, he had Dirty Luck Hardware. And I was like, hey man, I need some custom shirts done. This was before any of this took place. I wanted to get some autism shirts made for my son. So I was like, hey man, I'm going to use, a Dirty Luck shirt, but put a twist on it. Like, you put an autism twist on it, the puzzle pieces and stuff like that. So he made me a couple of those. Well, after we got LLC'd, and it was like, looking for someone to make a logo. I was sitting there with a little logo maker, and Kyle would make a couple logos, and I'd make a couple logos. And they all just looked like cartoonish. They didn't really stand out or really show what we were wanting to do. So I reached out to him. I was like, hey man, you do logos? And he's like, yeah, I do logos. I'll give it a shot. And a couple hours later, he popped over with that logo, and I was like, yeah, I love it. Let's run it. And he printed us out, I think 12 or 15 shirts, something like that, up the jump, because he did that. And just went from there. He did a good job on the logo, kind of sewed up what we do, everything under one roof. And so it's got the roof logo on there. And
Yeah.
we don't do roofing, but everything under the roof.
Yeah.
So I like how the SHR is under the roof. So, and I've had people call up and be like, "Do you do roofing?" And I'm like, "No, it's everything under your roof. Like, that's what we do." people, oh, okay, well,
Yeah.
I need a roof done. Oh, I know a guy. So,
Right.
we do a lot of that, or I do. People call us up, hey, do you do this? No, but I know this person, reach out to him. Like plumbing, for instance, like, I have Jeremy Nancy, he does plumbing for me. People call me all the time or reach out, hey, you got a plumber who uses plumbing? And I throw his name out there. And I kind of use same names for, who I can trust. I don't want to send just anybody out to a potential customer of mine and then
Oh, yeah.
something turn out wrong or bad for them, and then they're coming to blame me. Oh, I'm not going to take any recommendations for you. This guy over here didn't do a good job. So kind of try to do that with things. And I do a lot of my, I guess, networking and support for people. Like Average Joey's a friend of mine, like do the logo. Certain people with plumbing and stuff like that. I try to use people that are trying to do their own thing too and help them grow and get it going as well.
Yeah.
Support the small guy.
We need to have you watched any of his stuff?
Who's
Average Joey?
It's fun.
Dude, he's a comedian. He's funny. We need, I was talking to JT one day and he called him and I got to kind of meet him through the phone, I guess. And I was like, we need to get something together in like somebody's shop. We'll pay him.
Yeah.
Pay him for your travel and time and just do a private stand-up show. He's a funny dude.
He does construction too. Like he was doing construction before he got into comedy. So now he's like, since COVID's over and all the streaming and stuff kind of went downhill for a lot of people. He's got to make a living anyway, so he's back to swinging hammers and stuff like that too on the side. And then
But he
stand-up.
uses that though for another line of comedy too, like job site comedy. So like
I'm
he's
sure there's some good stuff
yeah.
there.
So he's a funny dude. But I think and that's the thing too is he still has that dream, and he's not just quitting on it because things go a different direction, which is I think something that we can talk about with like your story is like you went into business for yourself once.
Right.
And even though you had to pay bills, you had to go a different direction. You didn't quit on it. You know what I mean? It was always in the back of your mind, like, I'm going to do this again. And with Kyle, everything fell into place for you to do it. Well, Joey's do the same thing. He has to go back to work, but he's not quitting on his dream. He's still filming content. He's still promoting himself and doing that. And I think that goes into, like the sign here, like we talked about earlier. It's like, don't quit. Continue to do it. Continue to move forward. Even if you're doing it in a different way, a different platform, just stay grinding. Continue moving forward. But
Yeah.
So I mean, that's kind of what I tell everybody. Like, man, take the leap. Worst thing you're gonna do is have to go get a job. I mean, that's at the end of the day. Go after it. Try to make it work. If it doesn't work out, say that at the employment line like everybody else does.
yeah,
Bills still got to get paid.
Yeah.
But you might as well try it at least once.
And as touching on the business side of stuff, like me and Dalton, we've been in a partnership for a year and a half with this business. Started another two small stuff as we went, and we've had to learn the communication side of stuff, and so having a partner and not just being a sole proprietor is way different. You got to learn each other and learn how to communicate and figure out where your role is in the business, especially when you're 50-50 and you're both actually physically working, making it fair for everybody and make sure both of you are happy, because I've seen a lot of partnerships go down fast, and I feel like me and Dalton had a little bumpy patch, and maybe it was probably because I was off doing the light guys, and I knew that was going to be tough, but we realized quick it was only a communication issue. It wasn't a physical or a financial issue. It was mainly communication. And so since then, I feel like we've done pretty good about communicating.
Well, and it wasn't just communication, it was finding the time to communicate. I think when me and
Yeah.
you are in person with each other,
It
our
was
communication's easy. But when we were so busy with separate things, you're wore out from being on a ladder 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, So, like, I tried to be mindful of that, but there were still things that, like, we needed to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was the thing, is finding the time to communicate sometimes is hard when, especially, like, when you have a partner. And, I mean, let's say you guys both get bowed up and you're working different jobs, you never even see each other because you're both handling stuff, like, finding a way to still communicate, give updates of what's going on with different businesses because you got multiple things going on or different projects is something I will say, like, advice from what we've went through is keep the communication open. You guys are super open and transparent with us, so I'm sure you are within your business
Right.
as well. But as things get busy, it gets hard to stay that way. I will say that it gets hard to stay that way, and we went through our bumpy patch with that of like, you know, I'm handling everything here, he's handling everything there, and like there's no more golf sessions, there's no
Yeah.
more, you know, there's no more.
There was
'cause-
no fun. Like,
Yeah.
It was all
Yeah.
business, and when
Yeah.
it turns into just business and money, you know, things get rocky. So
So, I mean, I kind of pride myself in having a good time. Like, even when I'm
Oh,
at
yeah.
work, like, I have to have a good time, or what am I in it for? Like, I don't think of what I'm doing as a job. So, again, I like to have fun, I like to joke around. I don't want it to be a job, and anybody who works with me, too, I like them to feel the same way. Like, yeah, what we're doing is not always fun, but we can make it fun. And as far as, like, the partnership goes, partnerships don't always work out. You have to have the right partnership, just like
Yeah.
you have to have the right marriage. Communication always does help with everything, and then just remembering the value that your partner brings. I
Right.
mean, Kyle might not know everything I know. Kyle might not be able to run a crew like I run a crew, but Kyle brings other value, which is mainly talking me out of dumb stuff and dumb financial decisions that I try to make.
That's important.
He reels me in like, hey, that's a little far fetched. Because if I had just a bank account and just at my disposal do whatever, we'd have bobcats and tractors and a huge credit payment every month. So he reels me in like, well, do we need this right now? Can we get this later? You know, he kind of breaks it down for me, or completely shuts it down. Like, no, that's stupid. I don't want to. Don't want no part of that.
Yep.
You know, if you want to do that, do it on your own. But as far as this partnership goes, I'm not for it.
Yeah.
And sometimes I still kind of go with it anyway. Like, you know what? I don't care. I'm doing it anyway. Very few and far between, because I mean, in a partnership, it's not right to do. Like, as far as your business goes, and one's like, no, you do it anyway. It's kind of not the right move to make all the time. But he might not see what I'm seeing either. Like, I might see something that I know is going to work, and he's
Yeah.
shutting it down. I'm like, no, we're going to make this work, and I do it anyway. Sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. Backtracking, we bought a little office space. You know, rented one out back in December, which is the worst time to buy anything as far as when you're in construction. Like, you don't go dump money into anything. So we went and dumped money into a little rental spot in November, and I'm sitting there gears turning every day trying to, like, what can I do with this upfront space? I don't need the upfront space, I just need this office space. We thought about virtual reality chairs, virtual little lounge areas where people come in, little quiet zones or something like that. We tried to figure out whatever way we could to market it, but then having that over here was taken away from what we were already trying to go or get going and do. So, like, no, this ain't gonna work. We're gonna let this go back to the home office type deal, and later on, if we need a retail space, we'll get one. Right now, we just don't need one. It's just not in the cards. But that's what Kyle's part is. Like, hey man, like, do we need to spend $1,500 a month on an office? Is
Right.
that like something we really need right now? How much time are you going to spend there? Like, we got 3 people. You don't really need this right now. So we nixed that idea. But I'm always gunning for something new, something to do, something to make money. But I like the construction. Like, I like having fun doing that and
Right.
building stuff too. So that's kind of, I don't want to let that part go, but I am always looking for that next way to make us more money and make us grow a little faster. And
to me, that's where, when I was a kid, I knew that I wanted to be a business owner for some reason. Like, I had it. You can ask my mom. I would say it 6, 7 years old. None of my parents nobody in my family was an entrepreneur, owned a business. They all had career paths or certain jobs, and for some reason, because as a business owner, like, it's not like I said, hey, I want to own an ice cream shop, or I want to own a nail salon or something. Like, I wasn't specific. I just said I want to be a business owner.
Yeah.
And my personality with the ADHD, like
Yeah.
you, is my head is, I never stop. Like, it's like a blessing and a curse, because my head is always telling me there's something. Oh, that's a good idea. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
I gotta, and I'm always chasing something, and so it's a good thing, because that's my passion. So it's not just making money and stuff. That's like where my soul and my heart and my brain, everything is tied to entrepreneurship, because I'll never stop pursuing something. I mean,
Right.
whatever it is. We talked about all the stuff we've gotten into in a year and a half.
Yeah.
And it's only going to keep, it's not going to get
Yeah.
any better because my brain never stops.
Exactly.
I think my side of it of wanting to go, I have a part of that of like, mine was more of like a problem with authority and a problem being told no. You walked in at the end of it, but I had a FaceTime call with David. We were talking about a couple houses, and I won't get into what I was told no from who. You already know. But like, David's like watching like my reaction. I'm just like, I don't do that well. Like people, when I'm told no or you can't, I have a problem like not getting frustrated. Like, no, I'm going to show you. You know, I don't have that. And I went through a lot of jobs like before going into work for myself or before I was married. Because when you're married, you do the job even though it's not something you want to do. You got responsibilities. You got a mortgage. You got kids. You got all this stuff. So that was different. I grew up and did the job. But prior to that, like I had a bad attitude towards like not listening, but it was just like it was hard for me to take a job seriously when it's like you're 35, this is your career, I'm 19, this is a stepping stone for me. You know what I mean? Like you're wanting me to take this way more serious than it is. You pay me $9 an hour. You pay me $12. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's not like it didn't mean to come from a disrespect, but it's just like or like I'm a better than you thing. It's just like you chose a different career path than I am. This isn't it for me. I'm going through college or I'm figuring out my next step. But like no, I'm not going to work, you know, at this job. Like you won't see me in a year. We won't even know each other in a year, you know, and which I think was good and bad because it was good for like the ideas, like for me wanting to move forward, but it always hurt me in the now. You know what I mean? It always hurt me in the now where, you know, you never know because like going and being an entrepreneur, working for yourself is not the only path. Like, I mean, you talk about like your dad was in the prison system, you know, did great career doing that, you know. Brian, great career. It was just crazy. It's your in-laws too, you know.
Jackie and Jason,
like
all of them retired from TDC.
Yeah,
and all of them did very well.
Yeah,
I mean, all four of them, their houses were paid for.
Yeah.
By the time they retired, they have a great retirement, and you know. Probably another topic for another day, but that's not our generation now.
No,
like those jobs are very slim.
Yeah,
and you can go work for TDC still, but it's different now. It's
and none of them
like
hired in at high level, right? They all
started from the bottom and worked their way up.
Yeah,
and you know that sucks because that's the reality of our generation, and it gets worse for our kids.
Yeah,
where there's no pensions. It's hard to have a retirement, and you know. I don't like that, but that's why I feel like entrepreneurship is the best route.
Yeah,
for somebody that doesn't have like I don't want to be a doctor, I don't want to be a lawyer, I don't want to be an engineer. Like unless you have a specific path, entrepreneurship is probably your best option.
Well, my so you know I sub a little bit when I don't anymore. When I had some time, I subbed, but or like and I have you know with us doing this, and I'm sure you guys may get it too. When you're on social media as a business owner, you have a lot of people that reach out, a lot of people that have questions, which is a big part of why we started doing this platform. Yeah. We're going to try to do this is to kind of answer some of those questions without having to talk to so many different people and say the same things over and over again. We can say them here. A lot of people will ask. See my ADHD. I'm on rabbit trail. But no, a lot of people will call and reach out and they'll ask kind of like how you got started or what to do or what's your opinions. Like I had a couple moms from a church reach out. I was like, hey, will you talk to my teenager? Like what they're not interested in college.
Right.
You know, what is your advice for this? Right. That's where I was going. What is your advice for a teenager that's like doesn't know what they want to do, not interested in college, doesn't have a career path planned out? And that was me. I didn't, you know what I mean? To me, 18 to 21, you don't know what your job's going to do or what you want to do. My opinion is go to some form of sales. Go get some form of sales job because no matter what your career path is, whether you go into construction, whether you go to work in retail, whether you go to be an entrepreneur, you're going to get so much development. You may think you're good with people, but until you're having to convince them to buy something, there's a difference.
Yeah.
As like, so go to sales. That builds a foundation to me that if you're not going to go to school, or even if you go to school after, your customer service, your way with people is going to build such a foundation that's going to help you.
Yeah.
So I think If you don't know what you're going to do, try a sales job. I don't care what it is. Go sell trailers. Go sell, food, like,
Yeah.
Swan. I'm not talking about a grocery store, but like find a company that like actually sells food, steak. There's traveling meat markets, cell phones, Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile. Like, go to some form of sales. Shoe salesman, whatever it is.
You're always selling something.
Yeah.
As a individual, anywhere you're at,
Yeah.
even if you work for someone, you're selling yourself, your personality with your colleagues and everybody else. Even if you're an hourly employee, you're selling yourself to that company, because if they don't like you, they don't like the product,
Right.
they're going to let you go.
Yeah, but I think
mean-
that goes into you brought this up last time we talked, and I think this is great that like your plans for your future. So like right now your sales for yourself is your service, right?
Right.
What you can do. There's a whole realm, just like here. We're not just a cell phone repair shop. We need to have accessories, and we need to have other
Yeah.
things that we can sell and pitch. And would you like a tempered glass with that? How about a case and all that stuff? But you're wanting to go to a point to where you have like you get on the house, so you have your flooring, your stuff that you can
Right.
sell on top of your services and stuff. So that's the other thing, as I would like to talk about, is like no matter what the job is, and we can kind of talk about your goals for it, but no matter what you're doing, there is something that you can add to your business to create more value and more sales. And I think that's one that you've already kind of put a lot of thought into, that's your goal, is to get
Right.
to a point where you can have the sales aspect. Maybe that office makes sense when you have an office for somebody to come in. You hire somebody to work and answer phones and actually sell the product to your service,
Right. So, well, construction, I mean, there are upsells to some stuff. Like, for instance, you're in someone's home, you're like, hey, well, for another $150, this door you really don't like, but you're worried about it costing too much. I get this door for $120 instead of the $200 you can get it at Home Depot, and we'll change that for you while we're here. It'll be a little cheaper. I always do preach that, as far as, I guess it's kind of an upsell. If I'm already there and people are like, hey, well, I'm planning to do this in the future, well, let's do it now, because if I'm already here. So that I could probably do it a little bit cheaper since we're already here now, other than me having to put you on the schedule for 2-3 weeks down the road and then come back. There's gonna be fuel costs with all that. We're here, let's do it now. Let's make it affordable for you to do it now. Backtracking to your other question about school and stuff like that, I'll touch on that just a little bit, because that is like a whole nother episode of thing. I think the public school system's really not what it should be anymore. I think it's institutionalizing people at a very young age. It should have been, teaching people how to follow instructions and learn basic math and stuff like that. But after that, I mean, to me, it's just, college is not for everybody. Find a skill that you're good at, double down on it, and make it profitable. That's what I preach to everybody. My kids, if they don't want to go to college, I'm still going to have them a little fund set up, to, hey, go explore what you want to do. Here's your money for that. If you don't want to go to college, well then, here's some get started money for what do you want to do. My 16-year-old, he wants to be a streamer. The boomer mentality there is that's a waste of time. You're never going to make it as a gamer. I don't see it that way. Like, do what your responsibilities, take care of what you got to take care of. But then if you want to get good at Call of Duty, by all means, go spend 2 or 3 hours playing in Call of Duty and get really good at it, so that your dad can retire and you can help him out at your old age. So I look at it like that. But yeah, we try to upsell as much as we can, even in construction. Hey, we only painted the walls for this price, but we'll throw in the trim for this price too, and help people out as best we can while making money. We do run into a lot of the add-ons, the slick add-ons is what I call them. Like, you're there, you're working on someone's house, and they're like, hey, while you're here, can you do this?
Oh, yeah.
And, hey, while you're doing that, next thing you know, you spent 3 extra days on someone's house that you only bid it for 2.
Yeah.
So you done spent a week there because they're adding these little slick, I want to add this, I want to add that. So what we converted to prevent that from happening is scope of work. Like, this is what we're doing here. Anything added, whether it be, change out a window, change out a light plug, whatever it is, we're going to add that.
Yeah.
Even if it's a couple dollars. Because if you look, I've looked back, even in the little, 8 months we've been in business, and I've seen where we've took losses by, this job was only supposed to take, 4 days, and here we are, day 6, and it's not good. This cut into all our profit, which is our grow money. That's how we're going to grow and gain more business that way. So you start cutting into your profits, even if it is something little. I mean,
Yeah.
that's more time. And I think we break that down to a customer specifically. Like, yeah, it's just a simple thing to you, but let me count the steps that it's going to take me to get there.
Yep.
Like, you want your door trimmed out that we didn't have on it. Well, now I got to go to the hardware store, get more trim for this, come back, then I got to cut it, then I got to nail it up, then I got to caulk it, then I got to paint it. So when you start breaking it down, they're like, oh, well, I see why you're going to charge me $150 more than originally said. And I think that's where the discrepancy gets with customers is no one explains it out to them. Like, they don't read the steps to them. And you have to do that with people, especially people that don't know your line of work. You got to spell it out to them, draw them the picture with all the steps. Like, this is why you're getting charged this. And that just kind of helps them feel better about the extra money they're spending.
They want to know where the money goes.
Yeah, they want to know where it's at, and they want to know why you charge them for that.
That's smart.
Sometimes you have to spell it out a little further for some people than others, but I mean, it just is what it is. It's the nature of people, and I'm still learning that. I thought I was a good people person per se, but the diverse of people, there's so many different kind of people. Like, I feel I vibe with this certain kind of people over here way better than I do with these people over here, but I still have to, as a business, I had to cater to all people.
Yep. And that's part of communication.
Mm-hmm.
We had a hiccup. All three of us dealt with a little bit. Y'all more than me, but the communication with that electrical panel being moved and
Yeah.
you know the money side of it, and it came down to costing us more money and more time for everybody when it was a simple little 5-word conversation that could have happened to prevent all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Little explanation.
I love that little golden nugget. You know, if you're looking at doing construction or anything like that where you need a scope of work, there's value in
Yeah.
having it, and make sure the customer knows exactly what you're doing, what they're paying for, and you know what you're getting paid for. So if anything comes up, you can add that to it. That's I like that.
Right.
That's smart.
Yeah.
Touching on that right quick before we go to the next question. So that was a simple. Well, it's a part thing. It's a piece I have to buy. It's not my labor in it.
Right.
It's not my
Yeah.
communication. Well, it is the communication of it. He failed to communicate. Hey, this piece that I'm adding on there is $300 alone. Like,
Yes.
I don't want to eat this material cost. Like, I'll eat the labor on it, but you know, and he even put it in his invoice like, hey, this is to move it one stud gap over. That was kind of like a ball drop on me where I didn't specifically read that. You know, we visually said, hey, we want it here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, there was
And that's what I
there.
said to him when we talked to him on the phone is I said, hey, here's where I think your side dropped the ball. Here's where I think my side dropped the ball.
Right.
You know, and that's communication on both sides. So we're not bashing at all the company we're talking about. We're very happy
Yeah.
with how everything turned out. Happy with you know, with everything. The big thing is like that was just a one singular moment of like they could have explained a little bit more, we could have asked a little bit more.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
Right.
like it's not a pointing the finger type deal or anything like that. It's just, you know, that communication is important, and using and utilizing the scope of work could have been a little bit, you know, with them being more detailed or us, you know, reading it multiple times or something. Because, yeah, I mean, because it is simple. Hey, this is 18 inches. 18 inches is only one stud gap. You know, so when you think about it, like after it's been explained, okay, that makes sense. But
That's more like 18 inches.
yeah,
Hey, you went off there. I like that.
but more than 18 inches had to have a whole nother breaker.
Yeah.
You know, and it was different. But I think one of the key factors to why I think we're going to continue to grow together is this though is when I met you. We talked about it in the last podcast. I went to Home Depot, Lowe's, you know, McCoy's. I would hang out there for half an hour, talking to people, you know. And a part of it that helped was who you were with too. Those guys were the nonprofit. That was a green flag, you know.
Yeah.
I was like, if they're using them, you know, and they're coming from good people, and you know, I knew like he knew people from the church and stuff like that, and he highly recommended you. That was a big part of it. But the second was like when you went and did, like you said, the field day, and we're going and riding through houses and looking at stuff together. The transparency, the upfront. Other contractors that I met with weren't talking, or they weren't thinking out loud.
Right.
If that makes sense. Like they were keeping it to themselves and
Yeah.
they're just trying to give me a number. where like you involved me, you and Kyle came to one of them, involved me in what you were thinking, talked through it with me, and was like, hey, well, what about this? Or I'm thinking here, what are y'all looking at doing here? You know, it felt more team oriented in the conversation right off the bat, and that's why when I called Brandon and said, hey, here's the guys I want to go with, you know, and here's why, that's where it was an easier decision. So I would recommend that to any contractors and stuff like that, like taking that time, going through building a scope of work, not just like, oh, printing it out, he said this, I'm going to build it out and type it up, but building that scope of work together to come up with some form of idea of what the game plan is, what to expect with each cost, where that money's coming from before the first hammer swung, was where we felt comfortable. So we appreciate you guys for that, but that was a big thing for us.
Yep.
Yeah. So we try to do that. Scope works are always important, and is staying transparent and following through with the initial agreement. And sometimes you're gonna have to remind the customer, like, this is what you hired me to do. This is what you wanted me to come do for you. If you're wanting to change that, which we had a couple changes in the house we're currently working on with you, with the bathroom idea, that was more like,
Well, that's not a change. That was a, hey, we got to build a bathroom here, but we don't know how to do it.
right, we don't know how to go about building a bathroom. And then draw a picture for, you know, everyone watching. So that was not built correctly. That was landlord special edition.
Not the bathroom wasn't built correctly. The addition that we were adding the
putting
bathroom.
in, yeah.
Yes.
So that was not built correctly to code or standard or anything like that. So we had to take and kind of work what we had at hand with the low ceilings and then the space that was provided, and try to fit a whole bathroom with AC, water, shower, everything.
Vents, everything.
All into this small ceiling area. So I mean, it was different. There's a lot of changes that had to be made in that too. As far as the rest of the layout, it's pretty much cut and dry. And we're add a wall right here, turn this into a bedroom, and then open up a wall. You know, those pretty common things.
Everybody that walks through it goes, man, I like this hallway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's a big hallway.
It's crazy.
When Michael Smith, the Smitty,
Yeah.
the property investment guy or whatever, when he came over, was the first thing he said, he was like, dude, this hallway's awesome. I like it.
Bowling alley,
Yeah.
activities, all you can do.
Yeah, and it's not really a thing. Most people are like, oh man, you see that hallway? But like everybody that comes in is like, this is a cool hallway.
It catches your attention because you're like, oh, like you feel like you're in that scene with The Shining.
Yeah.
And it's like you're expecting like two little twin girls to pop out down there. You're like, whoa.
Yeah.
It goes. It's a long hallway. Which I mean, it kind of brings the old with the new into it too. You know, older houses have the big hallways with all the bedroom doors going each side, which the house was pretty old and had all the slats behind the sheetrock and stuff like that. So I mean, I think that hallway alone just kind of draws to the older part of the house and the new. But yeah, it's a big hallway.
I like it.
I mean, you can almost put a twin bed in there and walk around it.
Yeah. you can definitely, like you said, I was like, you know, people can put some, what do you call them? Like they could do shelves. They could do whatever if they wanted to decorate down there, end tables, and it's plenty of room to still walk around and decorate, you know, photos and stuff. So I mean, I think it's gonna be a cool space when it's all done. You hadn't got to see everything textured and taped to bed or anything. Yeah, so we might have to go down there this afternoon after everything's
I
done.
was telling Courtney and them, I'm pumped about seeing it because I haven't been down there since last Thursday.
You've been there 4 times. I do all the work.
Well, that's why you don't get so excited about it, because I mean, you're like me, you see it every day almost.
Yeah.
Like you're constantly out there hands on, which is not a bad thing either.
Yeah.
But you know, it's
That's
hard
the
to
only
stay
reason
excited.
That's the only reason I don't go so much, so I can be excited about it.
If Brandon shows up, he's like, man, odds are big. He's like, wow, this is good. I like
Yeah.
this.
I was like, when are you gonna get this done, JT?
Why is this not done yet? Like, what's
JT
up
gets
with this?
excited to see me.
Yeah,
No,
like, he's really going to give me the good job on this
Well,
one. All right.
speaking back to changes though, is like, I love it. Like JT's like, hey man, I think the door needs to go here, and I'm big. I told him early on, I was like, I want to hear like suggestions, opinions. I'm open to it. But you know, at the end of the day, I was like, no, I want it here. He's like, okay, let's rock with it. Well, he does it, and after everything's framed up, I'm like, he's like, what? And I was like, I think I would have liked the door where you said better. He's like, which I didn't. I still agreed with me, but I knew it would mess with him on it. But you know, and that goes back to having fun on the job site. I don't know why I said it like that. But that goes back to having fun on the job site, being able to have a sense of humor and have some fun, you know, and kind of get under each other's skin a little bit. You know, Kyle's crazy a little bit. I've learned that about him. He's like, hey, $50 to let you hit me with that taser. You know,
Yeah.
He's quiet, but he is crazy.
The best thing about Kyle is everything that goes wrong with the job was his fault. Like,
Yeah.
why'd this happen? I don't know. Kyle did it. So I use him as kind of like it's his fault kind of guy. Yeah, scapegoat.
Well, like we was going to that trim the other day on the corner. I was walking by. I was like, I started yelling, Kyle, come here. I didn't even know if he was the one that did it.
Yeah.
But I was like, Kyle, come here. I don't like that. Let's fix that. And he's like, well, I thought that's how. I don't care. I don't like it. Let's fix it.
So I run into that with Kyle from time to time. Kyle's kind of simpler guy sometimes, and
I'm gonna tell him you called him Simple Jack. He better watch
Simple
it.
Jack, he probably will watch it. Yeah, I've called him worse. But so with him, like, oh man, it'll be fine. I'm like, no, change it. I don't like it. It's not fine. Like, it'll be fine. No. Once I was like, man, you tell me to be fine one more time, I'm gonna throw this hammer at you. It's not fine, and we need to fix it to where it is fine.
Yeah.
So we run into such butt heads essentially like that sometimes, but other than that, Kyle's great. He's a good guy.
You're going
Wish he
to.
would have been
And
here.
that button edge, that's what I've been on my own, doing my own thing for 10 years now. And in the beginning, Courtney was very supportive, but also very reserved. She wasn't as excited about a new business as I was. So I was wanting to ask you, kind of like being new, you're within your first year. How is it at home? Like, how does that reflect on y'all's relationship?
So let's go back to the first one though. So the first one, she was excited about it. She had her nervous. But everyone gets excited about the first one.
Yeah.
Well, the year rule. The first year is the hardest.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, I quit prior to my first year ending, and I didn't quit. Let's say we'll put it on hold. The business that I had going, the people I had involved, none of that really aligned. They're great people. One is my cousin, he's a great guy. We just didn't align correctly. So that business really didn't work. He went his separate ways. I started doing little handyman stuff, little showers here and there. It really just wasn't, I got burnt out. I was tired of it. I was like, man, this is not barely paying my bills. This is not really working out. I know that I can go elsewhere and make more money, make more advancements. And then there was the insurance kick. We just got out of COVID. People were getting sick. So the fear of not having insurance and stuff like that was insurance is kind of a scam anyway. But that's another topic. So anyway, I was scared. I wanted health insurance. So I was like, well, I'm going to go back and do this till I find me a W-2 job, and I'm going to go get, health benefits and retirement and all that. Well, the company I went to work for, back to your thing with the authority, having to listen to someone every morning, show up on time
It's hard to
to this
go back to
place.
that.
And then their values really didn't align with the values that I had either, so that wasn't going to work out.
Yep.
So I went, split my separate ways. Well, we had a conversation. I was like, talked to my wife and said, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to go back to construction. I want to go back to what I was doing. Even if it's for somebody else, like I don't want to do this clocking in, punching the clock. I want to go build stuff. I want to actually have something to look forward to when I'm done.
Keep your brain activity.
Right. Well, then, like I said, I went to that, and it just, me and Kyle ended up having a talk. I went home and I was like, hey, I'd already been talking it up at home just secretly, like, I don't want to work for this person no more. Like, I'm tired of having to do what he wants me to do, and, he doesn't listen to any of my ideas. And, I feel like, a slave to the clock, stuff like that. And, I just wanted to be on my own and, see what we could do. So, I talked to her about it, and I was like, what do you have, what's your input on it? She's like, well, I'm worried about bills. everyone's,
Yep.
and I told her, I was like, look, we've been struggling this long. What's a little bit longer? Like, at least this, we struggle and just, grind through this and tough it out. Eat some top ramen here and there, whatever we got to do. This could prosper and be something great, but going and punching the clock every day is not going to give me the great. It's just going to give me a paycheck. And I've always felt that even when I was working for somebody else, like, I didn't really watch the clock. Like, I did what I had to do at hand, got done what I wanted to do, so I could take pride in it. I mean, I was building something. I built that, even though my company logo is not on it. I built it. So I took pride in what I was doing, and the appreciation, I guess, wasn't there either. So I really wanted to start my own company. So I talked to my wife, and I was like, hey, let's do this. It's just a little bit of, we're not going to fail. If I fail, I'll go get a job.
Mm-hmm.
But I told her, I was like, really honestly, I think the only way we're going to live the life we want to live, go to Cabo, go take vacations, stuff like that, is to find that freedom and just be able to go make the money I need to make. on my own.
Oh yeah.
So when times are great, everybody loves it.
Yeah,
You bringing in the checks, and bank account looks real good, but there always are those times where the bank account may not look as great. And she understands it. She doesn't like it. Nobody does. I mean, nobody likes struggling for money, but she sees that those are fewer and far between when I'm out on my own and doing this.
Yeah, and it's failure is part of the process. I think probably 95% of small business owners are going to be able to relate to that, because not everything works. I've failed at a lot of things, and in the last 10 years, and I've tried a few different things and learned a lot. And even like last night with our baseball team, I coach my son's baseball team, and I try to, when the kids strike out or they miss a ball, I try to address the problem, because if you don't learn from your mistakes, it's a waste. Because mistakes aren't bad to me. They're good. They're part of the process. You have to learn, and your only way to usually grow is to fail at something. Because my biggest failures have been my biggest lessons, and I wouldn't trade them for anything.
Yeah, well, we talked about that. Actually had a guy call me last night, kind of asking some questions, and I told him about the conversation we had. It was like, if we flipped a property and we lost money, I was like, now obviously we don't want to lose the amount of money that completely bankrupts us, but if we just lost money, and it wasn't something that bankrupted us, we can continue moving forward. The way we talked about it is like, we just paid our college tuition. Yeah. We didn't go to college, you know what I mean? How much did we learn? How many relationships did we build? At the end of the day, that's tuition.
Yeah.
And I think that's the way you kind of have to look at it sometimes in business, is the things that cost you money, if they create a learning experience, it was worth the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To an extent, there is a point where that goes a little bit too much money. Hey, I learned a lot, but I also lost way too much.
I've done that.
Yeah. So
I had met a guy. We did work for him in Longview. His name's Dale, and his sales pitch to us was, "Man, we'll try anything once. If it makes $1, we'll do it again. If it didn't, we learned a lesson not to do that again."
Yeah.
And so I kind of ride on that too. I was like, man, that's great advice. Like, I'm going to ride with that. It just kind of takes the fear out of it. So you put money in to try something that doesn't work, well, you're out that money and you learn, hey, that didn't work. So now moving forward. Of course, when you're playing with big money, it gets a little more scary.
Yeah.
But even then, I mean, as long as you're focused on it, putting everything you got into it and treating it like it's your baby, it's going to grow.
Yep.
And if it doesn't, well, you can try it again.
yeah.
So.
Well, we're getting close to on time, so we'll go over a couple quick more things. I think at the end, I think some last minute suggestions and advice that you can give us. I want you to tell us, because you're our first person that we've hired as a contractor, right? And we're wanting to grow this and stuff like that. But I also know that when you first met you're like, I don't work with people that are flipping. I don't like it.
Yeah.
Flipping houses is a lot different. I know you've had good and bad experience with flippers, but so far, what's some advice or some things that we do well, things that you could see us working, towards getting better on your side? And I already know what one of them's going to say is the planning. This one was, people that don't know the whole story, this was not really, we didn't have time.
There was no time.
Yeah, there was no time, and that wasn't anything on JT or us or David or the people that sold it. It was we bought it. They tried to close in 4 days. We convinced them to close in 8. You know what I mean? It was not a normal procedure of getting to plan. So I know that's part of it, is being able to come up with a plan for us to get that scope of work. But other than that,
even not. I mean, so eventually, the second house we're going to look at is sight unseen, isn't it?
We've seen it now.
Oh, y'all have seen it.
The original offer was sight unseen.
Well, so there's going to be instances where, hey, we're going to buy this house but it's sight unseen. We don't know what we're getting into. There's no time to plan. So I mean, just being versatile and flexible on stuff like that, and y'all knowing that, hey, we want to aim for this price, but knowing that sometimes we're not going to be able to hit that. And generally, like we've already talked about, we want to get to a price that's steady by square foot price for, a baseline of what we're going to run things. But back to the house flipping things, most house flippers are not after seeing others win. I mean, that's just that it is what it is. People may disagree with that if they want to, but when you're flipping a house, the eye of the prize is to make the most profit off of that house, right? So if you bring somebody in, you want the best price, for instance. I don't disagree with that, but when you're trying to bring a stronger value to something, you have to be undersold under that. I guess it's never really been, I'll take full ownership for it. The problems I had, I allowed them to happen as far as the house flippers. Like, it came in, happened to give me a good time when I was hungry for work, I didn't have it. Hey, can you come do this for this price? And I sold myself short. It's not their fault. They're after the same eye of the prize. They want the biggest profit they can on their house. So, of course, they're negotiate you down. And I didn't like playing that game. So, I mean, I take full responsibility for allowing that to happen.
Yeah.
But, some work's better than no work. Moving forward, though, I mean, like you guys, it's different. You said how much to do this, and I was up front with you. I was like, well, I don't really work with flippers. But, the whole time I was like, I'll hear you guys. I'll see what you got going on. And that's why, rode over to the one house, we looked at it, kind of told you, hey, this is like going to take X amount of dollars. I don't even remember what the X amount of dollars was, but it was a lot. And I needed a lot of work.
It was like a, hey, minimum 95. And we were not buying it, right?
Thinking like 60 is what we had.
But we also didn't know, after you came out in the inspection report, there was a lot of stuff that wasn't seen.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
You were right on. I mean, that was just
a
bad, and it worked out.
So, and then, so like the one we're on now, we're a little higher on it too than we want to be. But that's part about growing together and getting everything aligned, being transparent, having like meetings. So we've already had one of our meetings where, back to explaining things out. Like, hey, we don't see this progress is where we thought it would be at this level. What's up with that? And of course, I answered it. I was right on point with, hey, you didn't see this. We had to go over and do that. Odds and ends, and explaining to even you guys, like, hey, this is what it was. And I think it was can't remember what it was offhand, but y'all felt y'all were going to get double charged on something. And I was like, no, this is in place of what we were going to do.
Yeah.
So when I broke that down, everything was good. But I could, leading into that conversation, I was like, oh, these guys aren't really happy.
Well, it was the drywall is what it was.
Yeah, it was like,
drywall.
We needed to know, so like, basically, hey, if it was basically hiring in drywallers was saving us almost a week and a half, which at the end made sense to spend the extra money on the drywaller. Right. But we were thinking that, like, hey, it's still going to take 7 weeks, but we're paying an additional $3,500.
Right.
So we weren't on the same page of like, hey, subbing this particular thing out saves us days, which means that saves us the labor for those 5 days. So it took us, we had to hear it. You know what I mean?
You had to have spoke a different way,
Yeah.
I guess you could say. Got how I toss it out, and we've had that issue on some text messages too. Like, I'm like,
well, I'll just tell you, is like, our text is like, nothing that you just said to me makes any sense.
That boils down to the blessing and the curse of ADHD. When you have so many different things going on in your head.
The way you typed it out, I was like, I know this makes sense to him.
Yeah.
Because I was shopping, I was having to go buy lighting and all this stuff, and I was like, I know this makes sense to him, but nothing he just texted me.
But it makes sense to my wife too. So I was like, hey,
yeah, but she's married to you. She understands.
And I get that. Like, and I was like, so how do I type this out better to let her understand it?
The second text made sense.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, let me spell it out better for him. This light goes here, and once I did that, he's like, okay, yeah, I got it. And he hit me back with the list of what lights we bought.
But on the back side of that, I got my wife like spending money in the garden because she's like, hey, if I'm here, I'm gonna go buy some stuff.
Yeah.
So she's in the garden section spending my money. My 4-year-old's like ready to leave Home Depot. So like, part of my mind's not focusing. So I was like, I need this explained to me like I'm a 5th grader, so I can buy what I need to buy.
And see, I'm on the other side of that. Like, I have my 6-year-old over here, like, Daddy, help me with this. And my wife's like, hey, we're doing this today. And I'm like sitting here texting Dalton, like, hey. So it comes out gibberish. And I get that a lot from everybody, Kyle, too. He'll just send me like a question and we're like, what are you talking about? So then I'll call him and I'll be like, let me just spit this out a lot faster because, that way, if I try to text it again, it's going to just disorient you even more. So,
well, I think something that both of you do that I also do, and I think I'm not as severe as y'all are different, but I think
Guilty.
Both of y'all have done this to me, and I know I've done it to y'all, so I'm not going to make fun too bad. But we'll have a conversation, and like 3 days later, we'll be talking about something else. And you'll try to just continue the conversation from 3 days ago without letting me know we're talking about that again. And I'm just like, what are we talking about?
Makes sense on my brain. Yeah, I can 6 months ago we'd be having a conversation, and later on today at lunch I'm gonna probably be like, hey, remember? It just continue. It won't even be the hey,
You
remember.
won't even
We'll
say
just
remember. You just start talking.
right back on it.
Yeah. Well, last thing I'll touch on my side, unless you guys got more, is like you said on the budget thing. Or there are two types of budgets though, and we've had this conversation. Is there's the one where it's like, hey, we have $100,000 to spend, but we really need to be at 80.
Yeah.
But there is that 20 if we absolutely have to. That's kind of our like just in case. And then there's budgets like that. Hey, we have 60. We have to be at 60. If there's stuff, what your job is to tell me what I can't do. Like, hey,
Right.
this is what you have to sacrifice for me to get it to 60. You don't get everything for 60. You know what I mean? But like,
And we had that talk
yeah,
before too.
yeah, yeah. It's like,
hey, these granite countertops may not happen
Yeah.
because this has to happen.
yes, and that's exactly what it is. It's like you may have to sacrifice certain things to get it there,
Right.
and that's sacrificing materials sometimes, not necessarily just labor. Sometimes
Right.
it's like, hey, the materials cost like a lot. Like labor's gonna be the same to put it in, but the materials are 5 times the price. We have to consider that, which we were able to do, granted, anyways. But
Yeah, and it comes into trust and communication too,
Yeah.
because a lot of people are like, "Hey, I'm not telling my contractor I have an extra 20,000 if we need it."
Right.
we were advised by
Because then
several
what are they
people
gonna
not
say?
to be as transparent as well.
Right.
Well,
Well, they're
I
gonna
mean,
say,
that's-
"Oh, he's got an extra 20,000." You know,
Yeah,
oh,
how can I
I'm
get
have to
this out?
fudge
Yeah.
this number. But we don't have that relationship. I
Right.
never. So it's good to have that and be transparent.
Yeah.
Communication.
Which I will say to anybody that's doing what we're doing is
We got cameras there,
like,
sorry.
what I'll say is like you do have to be guarded early in the relationship, and we're still early in the relationship, but like it was evident week one in like where everybody's mindset was.
Right.
So we were both comfortable being. You were more transparent with us than you probably normally would be too. You know, and it's not that
Yeah, I
like
felt that out
you
the
know.
gate.
And I think, and that's just something we lucked into, we're blessed into, with the relationship. But I will say for the average investor, the average contractor, that might not work for you, but it works for us.
Well, I mean, that just boils down to the world we live in.
Yeah.
Everyone's out for their own, normally out for their own intentions, their own well-being. They're not looking out for the next person. Even back to material, like, I'd rather use a lesser grade material than cut a corner in anything, so, hey, I don't want to make a decision. Well,
What do you mean by lesser grade is like floor mica versus
Right,
granite?
so like what I'm saying is I'm not going to cut the corner of replacing this, shoring up this floor over here so you can have granite countertops. That's like the decisions that have to be like, hey,
Yeah.
this absolutely needs to happen. You're going to fill an inspection on this
Yeah.
versus, you put it for mica countertop in, it's still going to pass the
Still,
inspection.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I kind of look out for you guys in that sense that, like, hey, I know what they're going to come in and look for when they do an inspection on the sale, so this needs to be addressed. Versus, I've never heard anyone turn down a house based on the countertops. I've heard people go in and be like, oh, well, we'll replace this when we move in or something like that.
And they may put that into their offer of like,
Right.
well, we don't like the floor mica. We're going to offer $5,000 less because we're going to have to spend that expense or whatever.
Right.
It may be different.
And so that's where we're learning too. Like, we can build it, but we don't know the realtor side of it or
Yeah.
that part of it. We don't know what people are looking for to build houses. We know this is what someone called us to build, so we're not really looking out for that. So
Like
that's
when
what we're
David
learning.
shows up, which is our realtor, David
It
shows
changes
up.
the whole entire game. Like,
Yeah.
whoa, hold on, man. Like, pause a second. I thought you were the plumber, and now you're telling me you're the realtor. So wait a second. And this is like, I'm glad you mentioned that because I wanted to talk about that too. Like, he come in and he threw me for just left field over here. He's like, why'd y'all open this up? Why did y'all do that? I'm like, who are you?
Yeah.
Like,
Didn't even know.
I thought you were the
Didn't
plumber.
introduce himself, I guess.
No, it was the HVAC guy. I thought it was the HVAC guy coming up to look at the stuff he needs to. And he's like, why'd y'all open this door? Why are y'all trying to put a bathroom in here? Why did y'all? And I'm like, whoa, why do you care? Who are you? Like, and he's like, oh, I'm David. I'm the realtor. Oh, okay, so you are important. And I, heard about what he had to say, but before that, and even after, I was like, well, this has changed everything. Hold on, like, and I had to explain to him. And I thought I did it as gently as possible. Dalton and Brandon hired us. Like,
Yeah.
I don't.
Well, the
I don't
simple
know if
answer
this
is because I was paid to do it. That's the simple
And
answer.
that's what I told him. I was like, look, you
Yeah.
can go tell them, have a conversation all you want, but this is what we were paid to do.
Which
we already discussed.
I think their relationship with their contractors is different too.
Yeah.
And I think theirs is more normal than ours.
Right.
But it's where they're like, hey, the contractor may make these decisions and do it this way because we're not as involved. Or I don't know. I don't want to speak for him. But that's the only thing is, and that's the thing too, is he asks us why. And he's not asking why in like an accusatory way. It's why because his wheels are spinning. Right. He's very ADD.
He's just like me and you.
Yeah, his wheels are spinning. So he's like, okay, why? Okay, well, what about this? What if you did this? And his wheels are spinning because he called me with something, and I was just like, he said, well, don't get mad at me. And I'm like, I'm not mad. I just don't agree with you.
And he threw some other ideas about
which I think he was right about the sliding door. I mean, there's some things that I agreed with. And there were some things that's like, hey, that might be right, but we're past that. We can't go back.
But one of them was building an addition for the closet. And he's like, how much does that cost? Like $7,000.
Yeah.
Oh, never mind. Yeah,
you got to do everything from the ground up. Re-roof the roof. If I was going to spend another $7,000, what I would do is I would have redid the roof pitch.
Right.
To me, if I was like, hey, we got $10,000 more to spend, that's what I would have done.
Which, I suggested that, but then we kind of outweighed the cost on it too.
Yeah.
Like, we had to get the whole roof replaced. It had to be reshingled.
Yeah.
So it didn't outweigh the money because you would have probably spent closer to 12, 13 doing that, and it just wasn't in it.
Yeah.
Just based on the numbers.
Yeah, because there's nothing wrong with it.
Right.
It's just it'd be nice to have higher ceilings.
Right.
I mean, there's like everything functions. We're not cutting corners on like, oh, we didn't replace. No, the roof's fine. It's just, it'd be great to have 9-foot ceilings. You know what I mean? But
yeah, not a necessity.
Yeah,
but it'd be nice. It'd make it look better.
Yeah, but dude, I got drilled yesterday in t-ball, like by a bat. Like these kids kept slinging their bats, and I keep bumping.
T-ball's a dangerous sport.
Yeah, that had one of the kids was behind the plate. Like the other team had the catcher, t-ball, and which is normal because you got a bunch of kids. And I went after the first inning. I was like, hey, I'm working on it. My kids are slinging bats. Like I think they need to be in the field. Like I know they're wearing a helmet, but she almost got took out. And I got hit like at the shin and the forearms. So I was like, you gotta put them in the field. But I've enjoyed it. We'll get signed out real quick. I'll get everything stopped up, and we're gonna have you guys on again. You and Kyle. I want to see Kyle on here. I want to see y'all argue a little bit. Yeah.
We don't really argue, man. I mean, it just doesn't really happen.
I've been on the side with you. There's some bickering.
There's a little bickering back and forth. But I mean, special teams, special players, special plays.
Okay, Dream Podcast guys, he's one of them.
Yeah.
Sketch is definitely one of them. So he's hilarious. Have you watched any of his content yet?
Last time we talked about
Sketch pretty cool.
Yeah, he's awesome. But anyways, thanks for joining the Comfort Zone Podcast. This will be episode 2. Yeah, episode 2. Season 1. So it'll be uploaded. Today will be Friday. So when you're seeing this, it is Friday.
Yeah.
We're going to start up. That's going to be our upload date. It'll be every Friday. We're going to have some cool guests coming up. Episode 3 will be Pablo Chinchilla, which is your original business partner. I believe episode 4 we're going to have I'm not going to name that one yet because that one's going to be cool. I think some of the women that may not be watching us are going to want to tune in. Husbands, tell your wives this is a cool one. Your wives may have an idea they want to try to do something because this. I mean, I don't know. They started. I'll say this. This person started a business. I'm trying not to say too much. This person started very small with Facebook groups and grew it to. I think last year they bought their first warehouse. So a very cool. Like small to a lot larger scale connection to have. So I think she's going to be a lot of fun to hear her story. So stay tuned for that. That'll be episode 4 most likely. But other than that, thanks for joining in. I'm Dalton.
Brandon.
JT.
We're out.